Hey, it's Hunt. You found Hunt on Saints. We're talking black and gold football. Do us a favor. Hit the like button, share your comments below, and hit that subscription button so you can get all of our content. Enjoy. CBS Ryan Wilson did a mock draft, and he has the Saints selecting Georgia tight end Brock Bowers. Now, I'll kind of read you the blurb here. It says the Saints could go wide receiver here too, but Brock Bowers feels like stealing at number 14. I'll repeat what I wrote back on December 4th in one of my previous mock drafts. In the last 20 years, 19 tight ends have gone in the first round, 5 of those in the top 10. Mentions Eric Ebron, TJ Hawkinson, Kellen Winslow, Vernon Davis, Kyle Pitts. The other 14 tight ends were drafted between number 19 and 32. I mention this because Brock Bowers is special. In fact, he's number 5 player on my big board. Maybe he's different. Maybe he'll be a tight end worth taking in the top 10. For now, though, I'm going the middle of the first round to New Orleans right here at 14. I have said multiple times on the show that I believe tight end to be a luxury pick for the Saints. I believe there are far more pressing needs on both lines of scrimmage than tight end, which I guess technically could be on the line of scrimmage, but you get what I'm saying. They've got significant questions at both tackles, whether you want Andrus Peat to be your starting left tackle moving forward, and you got to get a deal done with him, whether you think Trevor Penning can do it, if Ryan Ramchek's going to play again, like all that's an issue. And you didn't rush the passer or the flip last year, and that's an issue. So in my opinion, those are still the most pressing needs. So while I'm not totally backing off of that opinion, I told myself this morning as I was getting ready for the show, I said, this is happening far too often. I've got to try to look at this another way. What is the real positive in the Saints selecting a tight end, or in this case, also said he could go wide receiver here at number 14? And I had to think about that. We do this Enneagram test here at Guarantee, which is a personality test, and everybody gets a number 1 through 9. My personality is 9. It's 1, non-confrontational, and 2, one of the traits that I have is I generally will look at both sides. I think that's probably a negative when you talk about talk radio, because it's probably plays better to get up there and yell and scream about one specific side and say why you're right and everybody else is wrong and you're right and they're an idiot. I don't think that way. And I don't really do a radio show that way either. So maybe it sounds wiffle waffly at times, but I have this capability. I'm gonna go ahead and do it. So here's, I guess, the other side of that. If you trust Dennis Allen to put a top 12 defense in the NFL on the field, whether he's got the next great edge rusher or not, and you think that Cam Jordan and Carl Granderson, who's growing into being a really good pass rusher, and Brzee gives you a little bit more. You've got a little bit of juice there, and although your secondary is aging a little bit on the back, you're still good on the corners. Like, you're going to be a functional top 12 defense in the NFL, good most weeks and great some weeks. And then you look to the offense, and you just want to get more explosive, and you believe you can create one of the toughest matchups in the NFL with what we consider the top tight end in this draft, maybe a top 5 player in this draft, at a position that we've seen can take over games in the NFL. If you want to look at the Gronkowski era, the Kelsey era, like, okay, I can start to see where that makes sense. You've got Chris Olave and Rashid Shaheed you like. You're trying to grow A.T. Perry into that third option because we think Michael Thomas is moving on. Juwan Johnson, 27 years old, not wildly productive this year. When you look back at Juwan Johnson's year, per game it was decent because he only played 13 games. If you add 4 more games to this, maybe it looks a little bit better. But look, you're talking about a guy that had 368 yards worth of balls and 4 touchdowns. He's serviceable. Foster Moreau is serviceable. They're not what I would call dynamic. And if you think that you can create some of what the Raiders had with Waller and Carr, and you think that you're bringing in an offensive coordinator in Clint Kubiak, who just left a place where George Kittle was a matchup nightmare at times, and you think that you could become a top 10 offense in the league based on that matchup putting you over the top, like, I can start to understand the thought process. Again, you haven't knocked me off my axis here. I think they should draft a tackle. I think the offensive line play this year was terrible. And maybe that was some injuries. Maybe that was Doug Marrone doing a poor job coaching. I can't pinpoint it exactly other than to say that I thought it was bad. And I thought that Derek Carr got bludgeoned early in the season. So I still feel like offensive line is a bigger need. But I can start to follow along with the thought process a little bit there if I try. Now, I am going to draw the line at wide receiver where I said they could go wide receiver here. I think if you were to draft, we'll just go local here. I think if you were to draft Brian Thomas, you have not addressed far greater needs in your organization, in my opinion. I just don't think a third or fourth receiving option is quality that you need. I would suggest if you're drafting Brock Bowers here, you're getting the number 1 or 2 receiving option. That's you've got to think that he is so high up the totem pole and creates such a massive difference in your offense that's where you've got to go. And I just can't imagine on a team that's got Olave and it's got Shaheed that you draft Brian Thomas and think that that's some sort of franchise-altering selection. And let's be real, like what the Saints do in the next draft or two is just massive because of the situation they paint themselves into with the salary cap every single year. Young, controllable players is the most important thing right now. And having one of those be your number 3 wide receiver, or 4, depending on what you think of A.T. Perry, I can't go there. But I can start trying to get on board with Brock Bowers if you tell me to. If you think he's just that good that you've got all the other pieces, and now with Dennis Allen controlling the defense and an offense that's had a makeover in terms of personality with a new offensive coordinator and now a new toy, a new weapon that very few teams in the league have, maybe. I said when I teased the segment, I said I'm waffling a little bit. I'm trying to get myself into a positive frame of mind with it. I've got until April to figure out where I really stand. I think we know that, but I'll try. How's that? Hey, it's on. Thanks for watching Hunt on Saints. Before you leave, help us out a little bit. Hit that like button, leave your comments in the section below, and hit that subscribe button so you get all our content right here from Hunt on Saints. We'll see you next time.